fear in relation to reasoning. It's the fastest way to knock a rational person off their game. If you want to stop Spock from getting to the root of the matter straight away, show him a magic trick. We know what scene we're dealing with. This is BBC Sherlock's The Hound of the Baskervilles redo, season 2. And the infamous fireplace scene. Number of things going on. We're not going to get into each and every single element because that would not only get me a copyright strike, but a lot of it he's actually explaining himself. We're just going to expand on further context so you can start to learn how to apply this kind of stuff for yourself in your own particular areas of expertise, wherever it is, wherever you are in the world. You can still make this work for you. A little bit of work to be able to get you there. When I say a little bit, it's probably a lot of work to be able to get you there, and you will see already that when you are engaged in a particular topic, engaged in a stream of information that you feel connected to, and you're not having to reach for pieces by, this information is coming right readily and fast, that it is absolutely possible to be talking at that pace and keep going with all of the information that is needed in order to provide a point and shut someone up in that particular moment. So just please watch the video till the end. Little parody of Sherlock there, but you can see right from at the start he's shaking.
Look at me, I'm afraid, John. Afraid.
He's shaking, right? With a phrase that I've stolen from the books, and as is used in the TV show a lot, is emotional qualities are antagonistic to clear reasoning. Right now, the neuroscience on this is clear. There is a definitive link between body and mind. So when we become too engaged or focused upon whatever emotive state it is that we are having at that particular moment, we can lose track of the individual particular elements of information that we need to be able to do whatever it is that we're doing. Right? I'm sure we've all been engaged in an argument at some stage that's gone on for so long, we can't really place what the original point was. It feels more like point scoring. That is the very nature of emotional qualities being antagonistic to clear reasoning. So when you're looking to examine the rational individual in that scenario, he has experienced something that he knows to be irrational. At that moment, the emotions are engaged. When the emotions fizzle down, it is easier to pinion with a chain of reasoning the exact origin of where those thoughts and processes come from.
Once you've ruled out the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be true.
We can apply that to everything that we do in life. Everything. We can't reason through that difficult scenario. We calm it down, we can see it more clearly. It is an analogy that you get in performance of this material a lot of the time when somebody says, "Go on then, what am I thinking right now?" Immediately you're in a much smaller box because you're trying to find something difficult. The random, the mundane, the everyday is an expansive box that when you propose that challenge of an irrational connection to what's happening rather than thinking through your demonstration of skepticism, this is how you can start to break this down. So when you're looking at his statement regarding keeping himself from feelings, the most beneficial thing for us to be able to do as readers of people, whoever it is that's a fan of this skill set, this way of life, the key isn't to avoid them altogether, because emotions are what guide a lot of people's decisions. And if we choose not to understand that, then we choose not to understand them, and we fall into the realm of perception, as in pushing our own individualized information onto a situation when we should be in an observation mode. If Sherlock had been able to look at that dog without being scared, that would have cut things out completely in that scenario, because he would have been able to examine what he was thinking, but by his own admission he was scared. But that fear was what knocked him off, and that's when his emotional qualities became antagonistic to clear reasoning, and he had that fallout that he couldn't quite get past what he saw, couldn't quite figure out what had happened, how he was able to see a dog of this nature, etc., etc. As soon as he calmed it down, got rid of that emotional connection, the answer presented itself. Granted, not really until the end, but this is how we can start to understand the process for ourselves. So whenever it is that you are too emotionally engaged in a situation that is going nowhere fast, ask yourself, what is this doing for me? Anger is the one that pops up a lot. We all feel so desperately connected to anger, like it's going to give us anything. Then looking at the people, what a laundry list of phenomenal yet general observations that were there. Of particular input. My microphone's about to fall off. This is becoming an all too frequent occurrence. So it was the sentimental old widow and the unemployed fisherman. For everything that came across that, we're looking at context of the scenario, i.e. the location of where they are and the practices of the area versus the actual specific location, as in the restaurant itself. And then you're playing into inductive reasoning rather than deductive reasoning. So when we look at the scenario, take the understanding of the fact that she is a widow by the oversized man's ring. When a ring is worn on anything else other than fingers, it immediately means something more than a purpose of adornment for that particular individual. Right, because it's not being worn through its intended purpose. It would be like wearing a watch around your neck, rings, necklaces, earrings, anything of that nature. There is the immediate connection of a person and a life and thoughts and feelings. You look at the style and the age and its wear and tear. You can get an idea for how old this person would have had to have been. Likely scenario to be able to put that into the ballpark of relating towards the person that's wearing it, to break down whether this is husband, brother, uncle, and break that down from there. Looking at unemployed fishermen, the wanting to impress isn't from the meal. That's a misnomer for me. Looking at the starter, looking at the fact that he's licked his plate clean on a starter rather than the mother in the scenario eating the pavlova, could just as easily be explained by the fact he has foolish male pride. Wants to do something nice for his mum so she can have a lovely meal, but that's all he can afford for himself. It is the expression that's on his face, the leaning forward, the jumper, everything else that creates that wanting to impress environment more so than the meals itself. Even down to looking at the jobs of him being a fisherman, if you recognise the patchwork of scars that are on his hand, the most popular job in that area at the time, given the locale and the expense of items, of clothes, of the restaurant, puts you into a price bracket. One of the things that I love to know about people is how they spend their disposable income. As soon as I know how they choose to do that, that is such a direct insight into someone's life, into someone's motives, into someone's values, into someone's virtues, into where they feature on the big five. There's lots of significant personal connective elements to get through from there. And then let's look at the memory technique of knowing it was a West Highland Terrier called Whiskey.
Well, probably a terrier. In fact, it is a West Highland Terrier called Whiskey. How the hell do you know that, Sherlock? Because she was on the same train as us and I heard her calling its name, and that's not cheating.
I can't tell you how many times this has helped me. I go out to my local town centre and practice all of this stuff weekly, virtually daily, where I would go up to coffee shops and things and I would just start conversations that eventually lead this way, because if you know anything about me by now, I don't care what other people think. They can think I'm weird, they can tell me to go away, they don't want to play, they do want to play, whatever. It doesn't make any difference to me so long as I get my practice out of it. And I walked up to this one group of women that were there, and none of them recognised me. And I recognised two of them from that scenario, given that a number of years previously, two of my friends found their faces quite delicious in a nightclub. Put that quite readily, and I knew their names and what they did for a living. Right, that's what it got through from there. So when I brought that out, it was amazing, just because that piece of information came readily back to me from that way around. And that's the same thing here. If you pay attention to the things that are going on around you, you're free to use that information when and where you see fit. I forget how old I was. I wasn't very old, 17, something like that, and I was trying to explain to a girl that I was attracted to just how attracted I was to her, and I cited a moment when maybe 5 years earlier she was in my class in high school, the first year in high school, and I remembered what she was wearing, what she was interested in. And because she was going out with one of my other friends at the time, he said her phone number once, and I remembered it. I know I ought to stalk her. This is just my memory working for me. But that years later demonstrated uniquely just how interested in her I was, and it was just my memory that came back. This is why we indulge in observation rather than focus. If you're on the train down focused on the fact that you have to go and solve the case of the mutant dog with green eyes or red eyes or whatever it was, then you are missing the entire world that's around you. The West Highland Terrier called Whiskey is mentioned from this woman. You can make a connection to this so that when you see them later, that's free information. You know, they're a dog person, you know, they look after small dogs, they only have one dog. That's a lot to go through right there in terms of the personal steps for their life. Engaging these practices, this is how you know that Sherlock never turns off, so to speak. These little steps. The modern twist on it is we have set practice time that we'll be able to do this. That's not the case. That's not the case. So I hope you've got something out of this experience in this video. If you did, please remember to comment and share it with your friends and do the old subscription button with the bell and all that stuff. And I'll see you next time for another one.